All right. So, hello, everybody. My name is Sammy. I am the Events and Education Coordinator here at Goosefoot. So, I teach all of our business workshops, I run all of our events, and I run most of our marketing as well, including all of our social media presence. So, I've been doing this for a few years. Instagram of the big platforms is probably my favorite because it's visually oriented, it's nicer to look at, and you get away from a lot of the like chunky text posts that take up other sites because you have to have an image to post. So at any time, feel free to ask questions. If you want to be on video, off video, whatever makes you most comfortable. And for those of you watching this later on YouTube, if you have questions, feel free to put them in the comments of the video or go ahead and email me, whatever works best for you. So just a brief overview of Instagram. You probably know most of this already, but if you had gotten used to using Instagram in the past, you could only post from a mobile device, phone, tablet, something like that. But now you can post from a desktop. They made that change about a year ago, which makes it a lot easier for people like me who manage multiple accounts. Switching between them is a lot easier on a desktop than it is on mobile device. Also, mobile devices, frustratingly, have a limit of 5 accounts you can be logged into, and it's a lot easier to switch between accounts on an internet browser. Instagram is photocentric. As I said earlier, you have to have some sort of graphic in order to make a post at all. It can be a photo or it can also be a video. It has the highest engagement rates for any social media site. What that means is people are less mindlessly scrolling Instagram like they do Facebook or Twitter, any of the other ones. They tend to be on Instagram to actually look what's there. So they're liking, they're replying, they're sending it to their friends, they're adding it to their story, whatever, at a much higher rate than any other platform. So Instagram is a great place to get in touch with people who are actually looking to absorb what you're saying. It has the same highly intuitive ad system as Facebook. Obviously, they are both owned by the same company. And if you've come to any of my Facebook classes, you know I really love Facebook's algorithm or ad system. It makes just so much sense. It's really easy to go through and put in exactly, who you want to reach, where they're located, what age they are, what their interests are, and how much you want to spend. And then it'll tell you, okay, I'll show it to this many people. You can run ads simultaneously on Facebook, Instagram, Messenger, WhatsApp, whatever all their platforms are, or you can just run ads on Instagram, even if you're using it in the like Meta Business Suite or Facebook. Quality is everything on Instagram. Again, it's so visually oriented that your visuals need to be up to par. So if you're struggling to get engagement or you feel like you're kind of plateauing on the platform, that is a good time to start improving your photography skills and getting better images to put up online. So how do you do that? First off, you got to think of what your goals are for the platform. What is it that you're hoping to achieve on Instagram? If you don't have goals laid out and written out, you're just sort of going to be posting because you know you need to post, and eventually it's going to start dragging on you. You're going to feel uninspired, uninterested. You're going to really struggle to make posts that will reach anything because you're not reaching for anything. So there's a lot of ways those goals could look. You could be, obviously, sales is usually a business's top priority. You want to increase your sales. You might want to increase your loyalty. People continue to go back to businesses they know and trust. Even if they've never been a customer before, if they've seen you regularly, they know of your reputation because they see like how people interact with you, what kind of comments people leave on your posts. They're more likely to trust you than anybody else. And if you know anything about business, anything about sales, it is a lot cheaper for a business to keep a customer than it is to constantly go out and find new customers. It's really expensive both in time and money to go find new people. So if you can keep people coming back to you, it'll save you a lot of time and money. So loyalty is a really great goal if that's what you're interested in. You can use it as a customer service tool. This works better for sales-oriented businesses or bigger businesses, but just being there to respond to people where they exist instead of making them come hunting for you. Because when you make them hunt for you, the only people that are going to interact with you are people that are very happy or very angry. Anybody else in the middle will give up because it's too much effort. But somebody more, if you're really accessible and you're where they're already located, they're far more likely to just be like, hey, I thought this wasn't cool of you, or hey, I really like this, I'd like to see more of it. Awareness is a really great goal, especially if you are a nonprofit or a newer business, just letting people know you exist and what it is you do. That's pretty much primarily what Goosefoot's social media is for, is just letting people know all of the different things that Goosefoot does. I actually have my social media plan mapped out, and I literally I was like, okay, I need something 5-6 days a week. One of 4 days, I'm going to talk about one of our like areas of focus, our grants, our business workshops, our events, the housing, stuff like that. So that made it very easy for me, but letting people know you exist and what you do. Education. If you are an expert in your field, or you're something, you're specific, nonprofit in a certain area, you might want to let people know about things. And obviously you can kind of drift between these, but so we have a lot of environmental organizations on this island, and their number one goal largely is to educate people about whatever the subject they're focused on is. So your social media should reflect that. Or you could even go for advocacy. This is usually kind of coupled with education, but this is getting people on board with a specific idea or legislation, or educating them about it, but also getting them to advocate for it in their lives as well. So knowing what it is you want out of your presence, hopefully you've seen, as I've kind of rambled here, what exactly you need to do in order to shape your posts to reach those goals.
What if those are all your goals? Is
Yeah.
it to like focus on one at a time and like make a little campaign and then go on to the next one?
Yeah,
Or
basically. Or like I said, some of these are more content types. So you might awareness, education, advocacy, those could be content types in the service to awareness or loyalty.
Mhm. Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah, it is absolutely okay to use multiple of these, but ultimately just figure out, like, what do you want your Instagram to do? Why are you there?
Mhm.
So some content tips. Put a face on your brand. We don't trust companies as people, we trust other people. And the big benefit that small businesses have over large businesses is you are a person. Like, that's your entire thing. You are a person, you are an individual. So that's something you can lean on that puts you above like big conglomerations or things that have multiple people going on. It's your business. You have a very personal relationship with all of your customers. Don't be afraid to let that come through in your content, in your images, in the way you speak to people. You don't have to stick to very stuffy, formal tech speak. You just talk to people how you talk to them in real life. Provide value and show appreciation to your followers. There is so much noise in the world. There's so much going on social media, just in our lives in general, that if you're just posting to post, all you're doing is adding to that noise. You're really, distracting people, and eventually people are kind of going to wander off, and they're going to do that anyway. But the more valuable your content is, it's doing something for them, not just for your business. You are teaching them something. You're providing them with an escape. You're providing them with insider knowledge that they can then go and tell all their friends that they're smarter because they know this. Whatever that is, provide something useful for them that will keep them coming back. And make sure you show appreciation to them coming back. You'll start to get to remember screen names when they regularly like your stuff or comment on it or send a message. It's absolutely okay to just occasionally make a post of like, you know what? Thank you. You've been amazing. Or even just replying to their stuff when they do go out of their way, because we're all super busy people. You want to provide that positive feedback whenever they do leave a comment or send you a message, because then they're more likely to do it again. And the more likely they're to do it again, the better your content is going to perform on the sites due to how algorithms work. People interacting with you tells Instagram, hey, this is a valuable account. It's not just another spam or junk one. So you want people to interact with you. And when they do, make sure you reward them by liking it or replying to it as you can. Show what you do in a creative way. We all have multiple ways we can explain what it is that we do. There's the very boring, laid out, staid version. And then there's the version that shows your passion, your excitement, why you got into it. So you don't have to tell everybody things straightforward right out of the gate. You can come up with creative ways to do it. So, customer interviews, I can put it on the second point here, but focus on solutions you provide, not the product or service you sell. So, Charlotte, for example, you don't sell classes, you sell people the greater opportunity to gain control of their own lives, or whatever it is you're doing. What is it that the class is the means to the end? So what is it that you're actually providing them? The business workshops are not, the business workshop is not the thing that I do. It's giving businesses the tools to navigate their own space and feel like they have better understanding and better control of what they're doing. Our street dances, it's not a street dance that it's not live music that we're providing. It is community and connection. And so that's, if you look at any of our street dance posts, all of the pictures are focused on the crowd and what they're doing and how they're, the smiles and the interactions and the connections that happen there. It's not just a bunch of pictures of the band on the stage, because the band is the catalyst. It's not what's actually happening there. Use stories to spark a call to action. If you're not already familiar, a story is content that goes in its own special feed at the top of the Instagram feed. It puts a little colored circle around your icon, and it's content that disappears in 24 hours unless you archive it. Because it disappears in 24 hours, it gives you a little bit more freedom and flexibility. You can do whatever you want with it. You don't have to worry if it's perfect because it's going to go away in 24 hours. But because your followers know you regularly post content that disappears in 24 hours, for a lot of people, that taps into the FOMO, the fear of missing out. And so they will regularly check your feed so that they don't miss those stories before they expire. So it's a great way to get people to do something and get them to do it immediately, rather than being like, oh, that's a good idea, I'll file that away for later. Like, no, you need to click on this link. You need to sign up for this class because this is a discount and it's going to go away. Or, this story is going to go and you're going to have a hard time finding it later. So do it now. So stories are really great for that kind of interaction. Make sure you plan your content out. There are feeds that are absolutely incredible, and you can tell that they planned all of their posts well in advance, because when you actually look at their full grid, it makes like an entire picture. And what I mean by that is, if you go to Instagram, hold on, so, this is your main feed that you're looking at. And then if you actually go to somebody's profile, this is, what it looks like. It turns every post square and it puts them all next to each other. I love Bell's Farm. I genuinely love their content. This is so charming to me, but it's clear that it's not super planned out. It's more scattershot. It's more whatever comes up in the moment. But there are some, let me try to think of one. I can't think of any off the top of my head right now. I'll try to come up with some by the end of the class. There are some people that have theirs so insanely planned out that it, like, you can track the color gradient as it moves through the posts. I don't think it's active anymore, but there was a chef who planned out his posts, and he actually posted 3 at a time, so that when you went to his feed, every row was actually a full picture. And that was really visually impressive. Obviously, if you don't do it to that extent, no foul, it's going to work out fine. But if you can do it, it looks really cool. And even if you don't do it to that extent, knowing what it is you're going to be posting helps you plan for it. Especially with Instagram again, because it's so visual. Sometimes you're going to need to do like a photo shoot. You're going to need to go out and get specific pictures of things. And it's a lot easier to do that if you're doing it intentionally and all at once for several posts out in the future. When you're left more scrambling of like, oh, shoot, I needed to get a post out today for this. What can I find? I guess I could use this. And you end up just kind of settling for something. But when you know what it is you want to go out and do, you have more time to make it the best version of itself. And as I said earlier, quality over quantity. You want to use the best image you can every single time. So knowing what it is you want to post helps alleviate some of that stress, and it helps you get the better image to go with. Don't be afraid to go live. If you're on a mobile device, I don't think you can do this on desktop still. But if you're on a mobile device, if you swipe to the right, this is how you get into the stories. And so down here, I know you can't really see that, but there's like all of these options down at the bottom of the screen: post, story, reel. The last version is live. So if you click on that, it'll start recording, it'll start broadcasting it out. It'll tell everybody that follows you, hey, so-and-so is live right now. And then once you're done, it'll put it, I think, in your story. But if you have something to say, something to talk about, something to show off, don't be afraid to go live. Being more off the cuff is more genuine. You're not so carefully scripted and polished for everything. And it can, so you could get out of your own head that way. But also, again, it gives that boost to everybody that follows you, like, hey, so-and-so is live right now. So going live is, in my opinion, really fun. Even if you need to practice it a few times to get more comfortable with it. You can practice by going live at really weird, like 3 o'clock in the morning or whatever works for you, just to practice when not very many people might be around. One of last year's Young Professional Week attendees actually did a challenge to herself where she went live every single day, just to practice talking in front of the camera. And it was really fun to watch that. So, you got new product in, show it off. You're working with a partner, turn your camera on and introduce them to your audience. You just have like a funny anecdote or something really frustrating that happened during your day. Don't be afraid to use it as an event. Obviously, still stay professional if that's important to your business's brand. But it's okay to show that human side, going back to the first part, putting that face on your brand. And going live is a fantastic way to do that because, again, it's unscripted and it's real and it's easier for people to connect with you in that environment. You could use Instagram to build connections, both with your followers. Again, as I was talking earlier, you'll get to know the same names as they regularly comment or like or share your stories to their feed. And you can absolutely connect with them. But you can connect with other businesses that you admire. Is there a particular chef you really like? Is there an influencer you're interested in? Is there a photographer you'd really like to team up with? Instagram is a good place to just send that, like, comment on their stuff and then send them a message and be like, hi, I'm so-and-so. I'd really love to get coffee sometime. Or I really admire your stuff. What do you think about XYZ? And then if you're in the kind of industry where you have industry events, conventions, stuff like that, it's really great to build those connections with people that you want to meet ahead of time. Because then when you go and meet them in person, you can be like, hi, I'm Sammy. We've been talking on Instagram. Not, hi, I'm so-and-so, and I've admired your content from afar. You already have that level of connection that'll get you a lot farther in whatever it is you're trying to achieve. So Instagram is a really great communication tool. Again, people use it to actually engage and connect a lot more than any other platform. Stay up to date with trends. Instagram is one of the trendier platforms. Things come and go constantly. Angles, lighting, stuff to photograph, how things are communicated, how hashtags are used. Things change constantly. You need to give yourself time to just use the app and exist in the space and go check out the trending tab to find out what those trends are so that you can, tap into the trend when it's relevant, but also so you can just keep your brand fresh and relevant to people and, top of mind to your followers. You don't want to, early days of Instagram, it was all like very carefully laid out food pics or coffee pics. And obviously those are still very plentiful on the platform. But if that's all your content, people are bored by now. They have other things to go look at, more interesting, innovative things to go check out. So you don't want to get left behind on the platform, and social media changes quickly, especially something like Instagram. Any question on these before we move on? Okay, so as I've said a couple of times now, quality is everything. So if you're kind of plateauing on Instagram, if you're running into a wall where it's like, all right, I've been doing the same thing for a while, what now? The next thing to improve is your photo skills. Unless you're, world-class top-of-the-line photographer, and even then, there's always skills you can learn with photography. I'm having fun with it myself. So obviously the first thing to do if your own personal stuff is kind of subpar is get a decent camera. Obviously phones are getting better and better these days. So if you have a like 6, 8, 10-year-old phone, your camera is probably not great quality. But new phones are really expensive. I bought this one specifically so that it would be good. It's got a good camera. It's actually got 5 lenses. So it does a lot of things. But this one's really expensive. It was like $1,200. And not every business can afford that. Obviously, you can go even more expensive. This is one of the cheaper ends, but I also have a DSLR that I've been playing with. And so I can actually get even better pictures on this than I can on my $1,200 phone. But again, these are expensive equipment. And I'm not saying you need to go out and buy expensive equipment right now. If you have like an iPhone 6, even going out and buying a like $100 point and click digital camera is going to get you far better pictures than that old iPhone 6. So one of the first things you can do if you're struggling with your quality is just make sure you have a decent camera. You can always improve them. You can always get better stuff down the road, but just get an affordable, decent camera first, because then you can improve the skills. And then again, when you hit that plateau of like, I've done as much as I can with this, then you can start maybe investing more. But by all means, please don't go out and buy a bunch of expensive equipment right now. Stick to a cohesive color theme or editing style or aesthetic. Even if you just use Instagram's editing features, you'll see there are a ton of filters built into the platform. If you choose a different filter every single time you upload a picture, it's going to look really incohesive. It doesn't look like it came from the same place. But if you have either cohesive color theme, I've definitely got an example in the end of this of one that, their color theme is black and white. All of their photos are pretty monochrome. They have pops of color, of course, but when you see a picture, you immediately know what brand it's from. And you want your pictures to do the same thing. Obviously, you can't use the same picture for everything, but the more time you spend on Instagram, the more you'll see different companies, different brands have their own style. And that comes through both in the wording, but also in their images, the way they frame things, the kinds of filters or color themes they use. So finding yours is a balance of experimentation, but experiment in batches. Don't change it up every single time you post a picture, because you're not going to be able to establish yourself if you're changing everything every single time. If you want to get natural lighting, you can see this room is far better lighting than my office, which I've done classes in previously. My office has no windows, and so it's just got those artificial lights and everything comes out kind of yellow. It looks terrible. My home has much better natural lighting. I've got this giant window here. I look a lot better. Lighting is everything when it comes to photographs. So if you don't have any equipment, you don't have anything to start with, natural lighting is your friend. And the best natural lighting is early morning, late afternoon, and dusk. because everything else is pretty harsh angles and harsh lighting. We as human beings often do not like cloudy days, but cloudy days are really great for photography because then you can go out at, high noon and still get a decent picture because the clouds are diffusing the light. They're spreading it out instead of sending it directly down from above. So early morning, an hour or so after the sun has risen, late afternoon, about 4 o'clock or so, and then dusk, again, right before the sun is setting. In the winter, that is 4 o'clock. In the summer, you can push it as late as like 8 or 9 p.m. Those are going to be the best natural lighting because it's soft, it's at an angle, and it just makes everything look really good. Natural lighting always trumps indoors. However, if you want to do indoor stuff, there's a lot of equipment you can do. And I think I have a slide on this later, so I'm going to hold that. But even if you want to have an indoor kind of setup for whatever you're photographing, see if you can at least move it close to a window. Because again, natural lighting is going to look better than anything you can recreate unless you have a degree in lighting. Blur out or crop distracting backgrounds and as much as you can. My screen right now is not a great example. My background is very busy because we're in my living room right now, and my table is busy because I'm working. I still have my pumpkins up from Halloween, all of the fun stuff. It's really distracting. Someone could end up just staring at my picture and stop listening to me. So when I stream video games on Sundays, and in that I have my camera cropped so it's just here. It's really tight around me. You can't see everything else in the background because I want people to focus on the game, not on everything that's happening in my living room. When you're taking a picture, you can also physically zoom in as much as possible. So instead of taking the picture from back here and cropping it just physically walk up to it, get closer to it in person. And when you're taking pictures, I think I left this out, but try a lot of different angles. We all get very used to taking our pictures from here because this is how we hold our phone and this is what we're used to. But if you watch a professional photographer work, the next time you're at a formal event, they've hired a photographer, or come to one of our street dances, watch our photographer. They do not take pictures from here. They get up high, they will crouch down and take it from below. They'll come in like really close and like take it right here. Try lots of different angles as you're taking your picture. And then when you're actually looking at it to figure out which one to post, you're going to see the difference just looking through those photos, even before you get to any editing or changing up your lighting or anything like that. If you watch people, and there's videos out there of them doing it, people who do Instagram professionally, or people who are really good at selfies, they do not just take the picture. If you hand somebody your phone for a selfie and they are very good at selfies, they will literally take like 200 just moving their phone around in different angles. That way later they can look through it and find the angle that's the best. So don't be afraid to take lots of pictures, take them from lots of different angles, try moving it to different locations. Get physically up close to your subject when you're taking the picture rather than relying on cropping later. And if you take a shot, look in the shot. Is there anything busy or distracting? If I was a morning person and I woke up more earlier than I did, I would have cleaned this table before I started. It's just taking the moment to look at your frame and going, is there something here that isn't serving my purpose? Let me move it out of frame a bit. Great, now I can take my shot. Put people in your pictures. I know I've talked about this in previous Instagram classes, but it is a lot easier to put yourself in a photo when there's a person to project yourself onto. When you take a beautiful natural landscape scene and there's no people in it, it is calming and it is relaxing, but it also feels a little forbidden, like people aren't meant to be there. But if you take that same picture and your friend is a little forward in the ground, in the picture, and they're looking out at the landscape, that's immediately more inviting because people aren't forbidden from it anymore. You know, you're allowed to be there. I could be that person standing there looking out at this beautiful landscape in person. This is especially true when it comes to restaurants. If you walk into a restaurant that you've never been in before and the place is completely empty in the middle of the dinner rush, your brain immediately goes, uh-oh, something's wrong here. This must not be a very good place to eat. And the same thing is true for pictures. If you look through a bunch of pictures of a restaurant that's completely empty, it's really unappealing. It's really off-putting, and you can't always articulate why. But it's because of the void of people, even though it's very clearly a space made for people. So get people in your pictures, even if it's just a hand or a shoulder or the back of the head, you know, super crop, super close, whatever. You know, I could take a picture of my cup of water. Let me grab my webcam. You know, I could take a picture of this cup of water. Okay, fine. This is already a lot more inviting and appealing. So just get people in your pictures. We do not live in a world void of people. So your pictures don't need to be either. Add alt text for accessibility. You would be astounded at the high number of people who use social media and Instagram, especially, who are visually impaired. They can't actually see very well. The way they do that is they have screen readers that tell them what's happening on the screen. Screen readers cannot read a picture unless you tell it what is in the picture. So, let me go back to my Instagram window. If I were to create a post, we're going to go ahead and upload, I don't know, this post from Would Be Distillery. I grabbed it for something else, but you go to next, here's all your editing and adjustments, blah, blah, blah. This is what you're probably used to seeing. Caption, location, done. But there's this whole tab here called accessibility, where you can write the alt text. And as it explains here, alt text describes your photo for people with visual impairments. It'll be automatically created for your photos, but you can choose what to write. So you can tell it, you know, a close-up of a bottle of raspberry liqueur with a small cocktail next to it. You can be as short, straightforward as you want. You can be a lot more descriptive. You can describe, you know, the pink hue of the cocktail, the sunny day behind it, whatever you want. You can be as descriptive or as sparse as you want. But you don't, if you leave this blank, you don't have any control of what it's automatically saying. And the auto creation isn't always understandable, or it focuses on the wrong things that a human eye looking at it would immediately be like, oh, that's what you want me to look at. So don't forget to go in and add this accessibility feature. It just takes a little bit more of your time, and it opens your post up to so many more people. So please use that. And most importantly, know where you're going to use the picture when you take it. The same picture is not going to work for the same setups every single time. What I mean by that is a regular post can be a lot of different orientations. It can be wider, it can be taller. Most of them are pretty square. A story, on the other hand, is vertical and it takes up the entire phone screen. If you have a square or a horizontally taken photo, you're going to have a bunch of dead space above and below it when you upload it as a story. So no, okay, this post is going to be on my regular feed. So I want it to be square. I want to make sure all of the important things are not, you know, tucked off in the periphery somewhere. I want them to be in the middle of the image because I'm going to crop everything down to a square aspect ratio. Or even if I don't, even if I upload it and discard. That's fine ones. That's a story. So this one is a little rectangular. So even if you go ahead and upload it rectangularly, when you actually go to their feed, look how much of it is cropped out. You can't see any, like, everything else that was on the side of it. So this is going to happen if anybody comes to your feed. So that's why I say I recommend being square. But then on your story, you know, this is sharing somebody else's post. This takes up the entire image. This is a great picture for your story. You know, these, you get to see the full thing. I don't know what's happening on the sides, and it's fine because nothing, you know, the face isn't awkwardly cut off the side of the screen, and very visually like something is missing here. So knowing where it is you're going to put your image, where you're going to use it, is going to help you make sure it's composed the best to appear in that place. Any other photo tips? So lighting, again, lighting is really important. If you have poor lighting in your image, that's going to make it grainy. It's going to make the colors appear weird incorrectly. And there's so many ways to play with lighting. I actually have some of these, so I was going to bring them out if we did this class in person. But I'm also happy to just bring them to the office if you guys ever want to play with them sometimes. But this first one is called a light box. It is more for products. You know, you have lights in the top of it, and then the rest of it is all like white or silver or whatever, really reflective surfaces. So it bounces all the light directly on the object. Again, it's kind of diffused because it's bouncing all around the box rather than just like a harsh bulb right above it. But this is really a way to have a nice, clean, clear background. You can usually just set these up on, you know, your kitchen table or your coffee table or whatever kind of table you need. These are also, you know, the traditional like backdrops, washes everything out, so everything in the background out, so it's just the product really shining through. So that's one tool to use. Ring lights are another one that is really good if you're primarily talking to a camera like this, because again, it's a ringed light. So instead of one direct harsh light, it's a whole interspersed spread of lights around the camera. And you can get these as small as like this big versus like I have a giant one in my office of like 18 inches. Those are really good for interviews because again, it makes sure the face is nice and evenly lit and warm and appealing as they're talking directly to the camera. The other option is soft boxes. I actually have those here in my home. Again, I do a lot of videos from the house. So, you know, it is a giant box. It has a light bulb. If it'll come off. Has a light bulb inside of it, tiny, you know, bulb and very reflective surfaces. And then it's got this cover on it so that it diffuses the light and it keeps it softer. And you know, a big source is nice because then it keeps things, again, the bigger the source, the more spread and even the light is going to be. The smaller the source, the more harsh and direct it's going to be. There are also, so all of these exist online. You can find them pretty easily, pretty much anywhere. I really like B&H Photo, but you can also DIY some of these. I clicked the wrong thing. I didn't include it on the slide itself, but here's a link. It's wistia.com/glare-in-production, blah, blah, blah. I can send that link out if anybody's interested in it. But I really like this article about Down and Dirty DIY lighting kit that teaches you how to like go to the hardware store and buy some of the lights that exist there and turn it into a lighting setup. For, you know, this was under 150. With the way inflation goes, it's probably going to be a little bit more than that. But I love this because it's really straightforward and it just explains to you, you know, what kind of stuff you might need to think on, what kind of stuff you could buy to make it work for you if you want to DIY it yourself. But it also just explains, you know, what lighting terms are and how they're important. There's also, I know I've shown this on other classes before, but on Snow Isle Libraries, if you go to online resources, business and finance, there is the LinkedIn Learning link here. Mine's being stupid. I keep having struggles with this and I don't know why it's having problems. I think it's because they used a different system and then they changed it, but if you've never logged into this, you're probably not going to have issues. Probably not it. There we go. So LinkedIn Learning has classes on pretty much everything, and I really like it. I genuinely use it for myself. And as you can see, photography is what I'm working on, including a lot of stuff, lighting with flash. I have some saved somewhere, but maybe it's in my learning. You know, I have a bunch of natural lighting portraiture, posed outdoor portraits. So these are all classes that I've either watched or I am watching. And there's so many ones specifically on lighting. I really enjoyed this one, learning natural lighting, light photography, portrait photography. So there's some really great classes on here to teach yourself a lot of the skills you need to learn if you want to improve, if you want to move to the next level. So highly recommend this. Again, I can send this link if anybody wants this on the making your own lighting kit. You can also just Google stuff like that, DIY lighting kit. Or again, I think this softbox cost, you know, it's actually a set of soft boxes. They cost me like, I don't know, I want to say $90 3 years ago. So your mileage may vary, but there's so many tools out there that can just help you improve your lighting, and that'll already change so much about your photography. Okay, any questions on lighting before we move on?
Nope. All good.
Have fun with your posts, whatever you do, unless you're super boring and stuffy brand, in which case, why are you on Instagram? Don't be afraid to have fun with your posts. You don't have to take everything seriously all the time. You can goof off. There are so many fun filters and stickers. You can add text over images, especially in stories. You can take goofy pictures and videos, you know, people goofing off, smiling, laughing, having fun, smiling people in your pictures. You don't want your brand to seem like a downer to work with. You want to be fun. Nobody wants to sit in the party with the person who's sitting in the corner and doesn't want to be there. So don't be that person in the corner. Enjoy yourself. If Instagram is like pulling teeth for you to do, that's going to come through in the kind of content you're putting up. So either find a way to make it fun for you, make your own fun, or find someone else to do it for you that has fun with it. But enjoy yourself. It doesn't have to be super stuffy and staid and careful all the time. So how do you grow your audience? That's always, you know, what everybody wants to do. They want a bigger follower. One thing is to find, follow, and interact with your ideal followers. Just like I told you, you get to know people's names. People will know your name too. So you can follow them if you're hoping them to follow you. A lot of people do follow backs automatically. On our Young Professionals account, I look at everybody who follows us, and if they're a local, I follow them back. It's just a great way to keep in touch with what's going on, but also to build that connection with a person that I want to connect with. Again, the more they see you in their notifications, the more they'll think of you. So, you know, if your business name is popping up in their likes list all the time, they're going to be like, oh, I like that person. They make me feel good. Make sure you are creating content that appeals to your target audience. It's all well and good if what you're putting up is good for you, but unless you are your target customer, you're not doing yourself any favors. So make sure what's going up is applicable to the person that you're trying to get the attention of. And how you know what they want to see is looking at your competitors' accounts and seeing what gets the most responses from them, like what content are they putting up that gets lots of likes or comments or whatever, and being like, oh, could I do something like that? You could go look at your followers list. You know, Instagram, your followers are right there at the top of your account. You click on it, go down to their accounts and see what they're posting about. What is interesting or important to them? Is that something you could replicate in your own kind of feed? And pay attention to your analytics. When you try things, when you experiment, make sure you're paying attention to the data that tells you, hey, this thing is doing really well for you, or this thing isn't doing so well, try something else. Paying attention to that data is how you know when you're on the right track. Ask your followers to tag you in their posts about you, obviously. But if somebody talks about how much they liked working with you, or they like visiting you, or this thing that you do is really cool, they post up a picture of them in their outfit or whatever it is you did with them, ask them to tag you in the post. Because then again, two things. One, it tells the algorithm, hey, this account is interesting and worthwhile. Other people are talking about it. And two, now all of their followers are like, what's this account? What's this business doing? Let me go check them out. It's a lot easier to find people when they're tagged in the post than having to go doing your own sleuthing. And the easier something is, the more likely somebody is to do it. Be genuine, consistent, thoughtful, and appealing. Don't just post a post. Don't put something out there just because you need to get something out there. Spend some time sitting and thinking, is this useful for people? Is this actually how I am? Does this accurately represent what my business does? And, is this me? Consistency takes time. I don't care how often you post, but the more consistent you can be about it, the better. Obviously, this is not foolproof. Things happen all the time. But if people know, like, hey, every Wednesday, Charlotte goes live with a tip. It's Wednesday. I should go check in and see if she's saying something. Especially for something like a story that, disappears in 24 hours. You should be consistently posting it, or that FOMO is never going to happen. People aren't going to know they missed out on something because you never post. So whatever it is, whether that's once a month, once a week, daily, whatever, just make sure it's something that you can reliably do over and over and over. And then again, make sure you're putting thought into it and it's something that's appealing for other people, not just yourself. On Instagram, make sure you are linking to your other online and offline communications. So you can embed your Instagram on your website so that your Instagram content is going out on regularly on your website. So when people come to visit your website, they'll be like, oh, she has an Instagram account too. I'll go follow that. Make sure you have the link on your newsletter. Facebook, obviously, you should link those together so that you have a business account and you have access to a lot of the tools we've been talking about. But also on your Instagram account, you have one link that should be linking to like your business or a link tree or something that people can go, if they like you on Instagram, they can go find you on other places that maybe they hang out more or that you control or something more reliable. Make sure your pieces are all talking to each other and not off in isolation doing their own things. And make sure you use hashtags. Hashtags are vital on Instagram. That's how people find content. That's how they find people to follow. That's how they find, they find your interesting stuff. So make sure you're hashtagging your stuff with what's in it, what's interesting about it, who it should go out to, that kind of stuff. Hashtags are vital on Instagram. Stories. We talked about these a little bit before, but stories are posts that only stick around for 24 hours and they get their own feed separate from your regular feed. So, oops, wrong thing. There we go. Going back to my Instagram feed, these are my stories that are active right now. They're right here at the top of my feed, above everything else. And then also, you see that, it's a colored ring if I'm going down the regular feed. Bells actually does have stories. I've just already looked at them today. So there's no new stories since I last looked at it. So right, super appealing, very visually interesting, right at the top of the feed. Stories are really great for rapid fire or throwaway images. Again, you have to be intentional and quality on your regular posts, but you can absolutely slap up that sloppily taken, quickly shot picture because it's going to disappear in 24 hours and it's fine. It stays at the top of the feed and it's a lot more obviously visible than a lot of your other content that just kind of gets mixed in with everybody else's stuff from 3 days ago or an hour ago or, a week ago, whatever. Stories also provide you opportunities to do things that you can't on regular posts, like run polls or questions for instant feedback. I'm debating between X and Y. Which one should I pick? What should we name the new baby lamb that just got birth? Stuff like that. If you want to access stories, you can either on a mobile device, you can either click on your profile icon. There we go. So if I'm right here on my main feed, I can either click on my icon and it'll go into my stories option. It says add to story, or I can just swipe right. There's all my options. On desktop, you can use the Meta Business Suite to create your story. So go to business.facebook.com. Here's our Meta Business Suite. And let me see, I might need to go to a different spot first. Yeah, this is just a post. But if I hit all content right here, all tools, post is at the top, but stories right there. So now I can go ahead and create it from desktop with the Meta Business Suite. You can also go live thanks to the Meta Business Suite. So that's, I think, a newer addition, and that's really nice. Because again, I have a much better computer setup than I do a phone setup. When you're creating a story, you have the option to go live. You can do a normal post, which again, this is a picture that takes up the full screen. You can do a boomerang, which is a video that goes backward and forward instead of looping. It's just a nice, visually interesting, silly little thing to do. Or you can also go hands-free. Usually on Instagram, when you're recording a video, you have to hold the record button the entire time you're recording. But if you use the hands-free option, you can tap, it'll record, and it'll keep recording until you tap again. So, and there's a bunch of different tools and, setup in there. I highly recommend just playing with it, seeing what works for you, what feels good. Stories are fun and goofy. You don't have to take them too seriously, so they're a great place to experiment. Example stories. Again, they stick around for like 15 seconds. And they will only stick around longer if somebody taps and holds on the screen. So don't put too much words in it. And they also give you this nice little tool sometimes when you're setting them up, especially if you're doing an ad. And you can swipe up to shop now, subscribe, book now, whatever it is. There's like 16 different options, I think. I think you can only set these up in ads. But a lot of options. Okay, shop posts. Shop posts are a thing that you can only do if you are linked to a Facebook business page, you have a business Instagram account, and you have physical products set up to sell on your Facebook catalog. It allows people to buy the products they see through Instagram. So rather than seeing something they want, being like, ooh, and then having to go hunt for it, you can click the shop button. And as you can see on this little graphic on the right, it'll automatically open up a tool to go ahead and buy it. So let's see if we can find one on my feed. It's going to be in an ad. I don't think any of so shop now. Take me to the website. I don't think I follow anybody that sells stuff. Let me look at my example ones at the end. Let's try this one. I'm not seeing the shop icon on any of their products either. Usually you'll see a little shopping bag in the top corner here. And then you can like click on the thing and go and buy it. Looks like they don't have theirs set up. But anyway, so it's really straightforward when you have it set up. The rules are you have to have an Instagram business account set up, and it must be a physical good. Unfortunately, Instagram does not allow selling classes, digital downloads, um, a book appointment, stuff like that. It's just physical goods. So if you have physical goods to sell, you can sell them on Instagram, and you have to have it set up in your Facebook catalog. And I think that's just catalog.facebook.com. You can also just Google it. So this is really great if you add things to your business that you can physically sell, or if your business physically sells stuff. The less it drags people away from the platform, the more likely Instagram is to push it higher. Instagram doesn't want people leaving, as no social media site really does. So the more integrated it can be, the more Instagram will give it a boost.
I had a question about the when you can like swipe up.
Yeah.
I know, or I thought in the past you had to have like a certain number of followers in
Yes.
order to be able to do that. Is
Yeah.
that still a thing? And do you
Yeah.
know? Okay.
I think it's 10,000.
Okay, that's what I thought too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Video. Video is the hottest trending type of content on the internet in general. People watch a lot of video, and mobile videos account for over 60% of mobile data traffic. This is partly just because video takes up more mobile data, but people are watching a lot of video these days. And Instagram has a really unique setup. Depending on where you're putting it dictates the length of the video that can go up. If you're just putting it up as a regular Instagram post, I think the limit is 1 minute. And again, these change constantly. So if this is a little out of date, I apologize. Stories is 15 seconds, but you can post multiple consecutive videos. So if you upload like a 45-second video, it's going to chop it up into 3 stories. And then Instagram has IGTV, which has 10-minute videos. Or I think you can go even longer when you get up to a certain size of account. So Instagram is good for short videos, and 1 minute goes way faster than you think it will when you're recording it. I've been rambling for about an hour now. So play with the video, but keep it shorter than you think you need to. Or make it a series. Again, consistency is a really great thing. And if people know, hey, on the first Friday of every month, they're going to upload a quick little how-to video or whatever. Things that reoccur regularly are really engaging, and especially for your followers, they like seeing something again. I just went through somebody I follow and watched all like 6 of his good or bad name votes last night because I couldn't sleep. Series are fun. They're recurring things that people can check in regularly on. And it also gives you don't have to reinvent the wheel every single time. If you have nutritionist tips every single week, like, oh, I need to come up with one for the next month. So I'm going to write all of these ideas down, and then I can just do a very short video on that. Insights are those analytics I was talking about earlier. This is the data on who your audience is and how they interact with you. Instagram breaks it down into 3 categories: activity, content, and audience. Let's see if I can actually just pull one up live instead of looking at my screenshot. I have to switch accounts because that one is not set up for it. With Google Chambers, we'll look at that. Yeah. Ooh, I have not been on the Google Chamber account for a while. Wait, there we go. So, Google Chambers account. Yeah, really haven't been on it for a while. I haven't posted anything since the Christmas parade. But right up here in the top right corner is this little like symbols. Oh wait, no, never mind. It's not up here. It is on a mobile device. I think it might be in more. I'm not great at using it on desktop because I spent so many years really only being able to use it on mobile. So I'm just going to show it on mobile. if I'm going to go to my profile first, so here's all of my stuff, and then hit the 3 lines in the top right corner, and insights is like the third option. So now I can see, here's my overview of how stuff has done recently, popular posts. Oh, interesting. Okay, yeah, there we go. Accounts reached, accounts engaged, total followers. So I can click those and get more of a breakdown, you know, where they're from, their ages, their gender, and the most excitingly, what times of day they're active and what days of week they're active. So I can see when would be a useful time for me to post. On a desktop, I would actually prefer going to the Meta Business Suite. The insights here just make a lot more sense to me. It's a lot easier to navigate. So if you're on a desktop, just go to business.facebook.com and go check out your insights there. Yeah. So it looks like they've changed this recently because I just pulled it open and I haven't looked at it. Shame on me. But you can see, you know, what people are interacting with, what they like, what they're responding to, how they're interacting with it, whether they're tapping on it, leaving a comment, liking it, watching the full video, sharing it with their friends, adding it to their story, whatever it is they're doing with it. And then you can see, you know, who they are, where they're from, what their age and gender is. Unfortunately, the gender is just male, female binary right now. Who knows if they'll ever update that. And then again, in my opinion, the most exciting part is the times they're most active and the days of week they're most active. So if you want to run ads on Instagram, I should go back to full screen. Ads have, like I said earlier, the same highly intuitive ad system as Facebook. You get to set up who you want it to target, age, gender, interests, how much you want to spend, how long you want the ad to run, and what it is you want the ad to do. Go to your website, interact with the post, on Facebook, RSVP to an event. There's a lot of stuff you can tell it what it is you want it to do. You can also dictate to run on Facebook and Instagram, or just one or the other, and all of their other, you know, Messenger and WhatsApp as well. Ads can either be images, so picture, carousel, which is multiple images, or videos, and they can be a regular feed ad, they can be a story ad. There's so many different places for it to appear, and you get to control where you want that to go. You can also use Facebook's Meta's AI in order for it to figure out the best place for it to go based on what you want it to do. So you can control it as much or as little as you want. I know we had a whole class on ads, that's why I'm going over that pretty quickly. So influencers, that's a word I've tossed out a couple times. For those of you that don't know it, an influencer is people with an established platform. They have high follower counts or a niche market or, you know, something like that. These are people who either make a living on Instagram or just have a high enough following that, you know, it does decently for them. You can work with influencers to promote your business. You can pay them to feature your business to their followers to connect with their audience that they already have existing in those spheres or in those numbers that you wish you could at this time. If you want to work with a influencer, their prices range wildly. There's no like official certification. There's no licensing. There's no classes on this. So some people will just do it for product. Some people will do it for a set amount of money. You have to ask them what their rates are. If it's, you know, more than you can afford, move on, find somebody else. If you can work out something, it's somebody you really want to work with, you know, you can talk to them about it. So the prices are going to range really wildly, and the credibility is too. You know, some small businesses, I just want to shake them. They didn't look into the person at all. It's somebody who says they have X number of followers, and if you just look at their page, like, oh yeah, you have 13,000 followers, but you look at their content and there's very few or no likes, there's no engagement, people are not actually interacting with their content. So numbers alone are not everything. Make sure their tone, their quality is where you want it to be, and that they're accurately representing themselves, because anybody can go out and buy a bunch of bots to follow them so that their numbers are up high. But bots don't regularly actually interact with things, and bots don't turn into customers. So do your research. If a influencer approaches you to work with you, do your research on them. If you're approaching them, hopefully you've obviously done your research before you've wanted to approach them. Take the time to make sure it is a good deal for you, even if it's just product. And another caution I will say is, you do not get to dictate. If it's like a review, a product review or whatever, you don't really get to dictate what it is that they say. If you give somebody some free product to talk about your brand and they hate it, you don't have legal recourse if they talk about how much they hate it. So, have that caution with you. But, if you're reaching out to people like this, I assume you have something quality that you want people to know about. The FTC requires them to disclose it's a brand deal. This is legal requirement. It's all truth in advertising and all of that. But again, there is no certification school for influencers. So a lot of them don't necessarily know that. If you are working with somebody who is promoting your brand to their followers, make sure that they are including the disclosure in their post, in the text, in the video, whatever format it's taking place. They need to tell people that you provided them free product or that you paid them. Legally, they have to. So if the FTC catches onto them, not only will they get in trouble, but you will get in trouble. So it is in your best interests to make sure that they are including that disclosure. Don't try to do anything sneaky. Don't try to do anything under the table and be like, no, this is totally authentic and genuine and just out of the blue. It's not worth it. Those fines are incredibly hefty. If you want to work with an influencer, you can find one you'd like to work with and inquire on working with them. Ask them, hey, would you consider this? And if so, what are your rates? If you want to find somebody to work with, you can either mine your followers. Who are they following? Who are the big accounts that they're paying attention to? That's a good way to get to more people like them. Who are your competitors using? Somebody in your field is probably working with an influencer. Is that someone you would like to work with? Or do they have a competitor you can work with? How much sleuthing do you want to do? If you want to look in certain hashtags, you can find the biggest posts, the biggest users in that hashtag. That could be a good person to work with. You can also just Google, influencer in whatever, travel, restaurant, whatever, and find some options that way. There are also influencer platforms. There are platforms specifically to set up brand deals. So you can do some searching on that of like, I want somebody with X number of followers in this location, in this subject matter, and it'll be like, boom, here's the influencers and their rates. I haven't spent a ton of time on influencer platforms, so I don't know how well those tools work. Locally, I think the only people I know of that really work with influencers is the Island County, Whidbey Camino Islands Travel Tourism Bureau. Sherry is fantastic, and she probably would be open to, having her mind picked about how to work with influencers and pros and cons. But don't be afraid to just ask people about it, especially in your industry. Any questions on influencers?
No, that's awesome. I had kind of thought about influencers. There's a lot of kind of sneaky stuff to.
There's a lot of sneaky stuff. It's kind of the Wild West right now, but they're starting to crack down on it. So that's why it's good to pay attention to what's legally required. Okay, so some additional apps to help your Instagram experience go smoother and better. Canva. Canva is my favorite one. I'm not sponsored by Canva, but I absolutely love them. It's a really great way to create graphics, including infographics, invites, collages, and more. If you go to Canva, oops, I should canva.com. Let me log in really quick. So if you go to Canva, boom, right here, Instagram posts, Square, Instagram story. They know that is some of their most popular content. So they also have this nice little social media one. If you go here, look at all of these options. These are ones I've used recently. Recently as in last year. I think I used these for Young Professionals Week. But here's some really beautiful ones that you can either, they're word based, so you don't have to worry about an image, or something nice, clean, really beautiful layouts. You can find exactly what it is you're looking for. And you can very easily, you can swap, you put your name here, put your logo here, you can change up all of the text, and even, let me find it. Gosh, my brain is blanking. You can edit the video, so you can make, different stuff in here. You can also just pop an entirely different video in. If I'm going to go to videos. So like, oh, I don't want this one. I want, I don't know, burgers. I want this one instead. Boom. That easy. So genuinely love Canva. It's a lot of fun. And it makes it a lot more approachable and easy for anybody to use. They're free accounts on Canva, but as you probably saw when I was in there, oops. That's the one I want. Some of these, I think it was Design More. Yeah, some of these have this nice little crown, and that means you need a paid pro account to use that. If you are a nonprofit, you can get a free account, but even so, if this is a tool, I would recommend using it first. If it's something you regularly use and you like, then consider upgrading it. But you can do a lot of stuff with the free account. Sprout Social is a pretty expensive tool. That is a monthly fee, I believe. But it's really great for scheduling, analytics, and tracking data. So if you struggle with these things, it's got a lot of it built in. It's a really cool system if you have the budget and it's something you need a little extra boost with. Adobe Lightroom, the desktop version costs money and Adobe is not cheap, but the mobile version on your phone is free. And Adobe Lightroom is the editing app that pretty much all professional photographers use. So use the mobile version, it's free and it's really helpful. It just has a bit of a learning curve. So again, I would use Canva, or not Canva, LinkedIn Learning to teach yourself how to use it. There's an app called Layout. This is an app from Instagram to make collages. So if you want to put multiple images in a single post. So I like Layout. It's pretty simple if you like to make that kind of content. There's one called HypeType that I like that's puts moving text on your images. So, you want that swipe in text or dancing or whatever. HypeType is a really cool app you can download on your phone to make moving text and then go ahead and upload that to your Instagram post. VSCO is the most downloaded photo editing app. I don't have personal experience using it, but the numbers don't lie. Lots of people use it and they like it and recommend it. So you can also just search in your app store or online Instagram app for whatever it is you're trying to do. There's so much stuff out there. It's been around for so long and it's such a big platform that lots of people have made additional tools to make things easier and more streamlined for you. I think I still have one on my phone called, let me double check if I have it. Nope, I didn't install it on this phone, but I had one for a long time that just let me repost Instagram posts. So if somebody was talking about one of my businesses, I could pop the URL in there and it would take their picture, put their username in the corner of the picture, and then I could then, type my text of like, hey, check out this cool thing, or selling now at the Goose, or whatever's happening. And then I could copy their caption and with their username tagged. So then, boom, I can share it to my feed, which isn't something Instagram allows internally. I guess not built into the platform, and it still gives the original account credit for the content. But there's content from my account that I've shared. So there's literally apps for everything. Okay, so some final words, and then we can look at examples. I can answer questions, whatever the time is yours. It takes time, consistency, authenticity, and quality to have a successful Instagram account. You need to give yourself time to explore the platform, see what works, see what doesn't work, find out, what the newest trends are, and make sure you're actually talking to people the way they need to be talked to. It takes consistency. I don't care what that means to you, just as long as you're regularly posting on Instagram. Don't run out of here with bright ideas, post 3 times in a week, and oops, you've posted all your ideas and now your account's sitting there dead. I would so much rather you space things out and do it regularly. Authenticity. People know when you're faking it online, when you're pretending to be someone you're not. The mask is going to slip eventually, and people don't like fake people. So just be yourself, be your company. Don't try to imitate somebody else. Don't copy someone else completely. Be your own business. That's why you're doing this and not working for someone else. And quality is everything on Instagram. If you're struggling, if you're not finding much of a return, one of the first things to do is improve your photography skills. And to do that, use natural lighting. It's your friend. Avoid harsh direct lighting. Rule of thirds. You can divide every screen up in thirds this way and in this way. Things are a lot more visually interesting when they're sitting on one of those lines. This is fine, but this is slightly more visually interesting, especially with my pumpkin tree in the background. So, and then try different angles. Again, when you're taking a picture, don't just snap one and call it done. Get up close to it, move around it, go up high, get down low. I have a thread that I absolutely love. I'm actually just going to go ahead and pull it up. Let me see if I can. Photography. I guess that Tumblr. Let me see if I can find any of those. I might not be able to. Yeah, I'll find that thread if you're interested, and I can link it later. But there's a really fantastic thread out there of people taking pictures of the photographers and the weird positions they have to get in to get the shot, like up on somebody's shoulders, like hanging over a ledge with someone holding onto their shirt, like laying down on the ground and taking the picture from below. Probably one of my most popular photos from the Coupeville Arts and Crafts Festival. I borrowed a ladder from the gallery and I set up the ladder in the middle of the street, and I just sat on top of the ladder shooting down the street. And it was a lot more visually interesting than me just standing in the middle of the street because I'm not that tall. So it was, over people's heads. You got to see more people than just the one person standing in front of me. Try different things, experiment, find out, take lots of pictures and then pick the 1 or 2 really good pictures from the shoot, and get better equipment. Whether that's just a $100 point and click camera, whether you're, actually on board for upgrading to more inexpensive equipment, whatever that means for you. Set aside a budget to regularly improve your equipment. I just did that recently, even with my gear. I have a lav mic for videos, and it was garbage. And so I went and bought new ones. Yeah, they cost me a pretty penny, but now I have shiny new mics to play with. Upgrading stuff regularly over time as you get better at it and as you get the skills to use it properly is a lot better than running out and buying a bunch of equipment that you don't know how to use. Use a mobile editing app if you don't want to play with Instagram's features. You know, Instagram's built-in stuff is nice, but it's samey. Everybody's already used it to death. So there's so many editing apps out there. Don't be afraid to download one and play with it. If you don't like it, if it's confusing, delete it and install a different one. There's tons to pick from. Captions cut off after 140 characters into a read more. So that's characters, which is letters, spaces, punctuation, anything like that. So make sure the most eye-catching and interesting stuff is at the top so that somebody will be intrigued enough to open the read more and see everything else. There's no one best time to post. I can't tell you that. I can't say you should post at this time. It's different for everybody. Even with I run like 10 accounts and they all have very different best posting times. Know your audience, keep an eye on those analytics and figure out when the best time to post is. And it can be a mix of when is the best time for audience, but also when's the best time for you. Try things, try new things, experiment and have fun with it and stick with it. It takes time to build up a following. If you run out, you do stuff, you try it, and then, oops, it's not working after like a month. A month's not enough time to build up momentum. So keep at it. Okay, so we're going to have a look at examples and answer some questions, but I'm going to go ahead and end the recording here. Again, you folks at home watching this later, feel free to email me if you have questions or leave comments on the video, whatever works best for you. But we're going to go ahead and stop recording. Bye.